Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So previously, we talked about step-by-step procedure to put together your first chatbot with a live API call, and of course, with the API key inside in a .inf file. So that enables you to communicate with CloudClient, which is a large language model developed and managed by the company Anthropic Claude, and it's allowing you to having a conversation with their large language model. And of course, we talked about how do you manage session and history of the conversation within the state of the chatbot environment. And in this episode, we're going to add in a little bit of internet search. What we are going to do is to use the web search functionality from Anthropic. So let's show you this Anthropic Claude uh, web search. I'm curious about the web search tool and the web search API. Um, so certainly it's here. You should be able to just have a conversation with it and talk to it. And let me see where's the API docs. So maybe there's API docs here. Web search tool, I think 3.5 is here. This might be deprecated. I think that's the model we're using right now. But certainly you can do a web search tool like this. Okay, so with all that being said, now let's see what we can do with web search. And I can navigate to Python. Maybe that's a better version. And I think I can probably just copy this code when we are building our tools in the main.py. And with all that being said, I think I'm ready to go ahead and build this tool, right? Let me show you the code a little bit. So on the left-hand side, I have my GitHub repository, and I'm in the correct branch. I'm in the correct folder, and this is my code. Right now, you can see that I can talk to the Anthropic client, but there's no tools being defined here, right? And there's no web search, right? All the information that's coming out of this message gets completely uh, built and memorized in this model. Now, if this model is a year ago or 2 years ago, then obviously it can get a little bit of outdated. So that's the caveat here, and that's the motivation of why do we want to use web tools. So here's what we're gonna do. Here on the right-hand side, I'm already in the environment in terminal, and there, and again, I'm using WSL that simulate the same environment as if you are using a MacBook. And with all that being set up and configured, I can then go to Claude. This will kick off the Claude code environment. And then now I can say, maybe I should give the path. So where's the path? I'm gonna copy this path. I'm gonna say, um, I I have a new request. I want you to look at this Python script. I'm gonna put a code, put a directory here and say, I know this is an app with an Anthropic Claude API, and I want you to add a web search tool. Um, I found this new release online, and I'm just gonna physically copy this in there, right? So just copy this in here. Um, I want you to help me implement a web search tool inside of client. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit enter. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all you need to do. Uh, at this point, since we're using Sonnet 4.5 here, so it should be pretty smart to figure that out. And it's obviously going to make an update of the model. It's going to update the tools, and I think that should be it. Right? That's the only place that is the difference from my code and this new release on this website, right? If you look at the code here, you look at the code here, that's pretty much the only difference, right? So, do you want to make this edit? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to update that Python script for me, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I know I'm using UV to manage this project. Can you use UV to deploy this app? Um, let's make it clear that's a Streamlit app locally for me, and hopefully it will recognize we use the correct prompt and the correct syntax. Here, UV run, Streamlit run, great, proceed. And then hopefully it will deploy the app for us. And then we can then go ahead and talk to the chatbot. Let's see what went wrong. Asking for email. You should not ask for email. That's really, really weird. So I'm gonna run it in background, see if that works. Great. There we go. So let's just start with hi. Let's see if that works. Hopefully that works. Great. Do you have internet search or web tools? I'm curious if it even recognizes own tools. So that's kind of like a curiosity. I'll say, okay, great. Yes, I do have web search tools. I mean, that's amazing. At least that's a good start, right? Then you can say, okay, great. What is the weather today in NYC? So typically weather is kind of like a most recent thing, right? So obviously, if you have web search, you better be able to answer that question. Okay, so we have a blocker here. Has no attribute text. Okay, so we're gonna debug that. But let's test out something else. What if I say search today's weather in NYC? I wonder if that works. If that doesn't work, then we're gonna have to probably debug this a little bit. Um, but let's see. Okay, so this is obviously a problem, and what I'm gonna do is I am simply just going to copy this, and then put it in Cloud Code. Say, um, I'm able to talk to it, but I got this response. I'm gonna put the response here and let's say, how come it has this error? Is it a syntax Python error or is it API error? It should be able to search weather using internet tool, right? That's the question. That's the error I'm seeing. That's the question I'm having. I don't know what the answer is. Let's ask AI to help us out, right? Hit enter. Let's see what does it say, right? Hopefully it's able to pinpoint what the problem is. Uh, the response contains sort of objects instead of just text. You need to handle two in the response, things like that. Okay, so what this means is the code here, the message here that we are talking about is not necessarily a string, and it might have its own weird schema coming out of that API call. So this is human issue, right? Because when I read this blog, I didn't really read into the parameters. I didn't really read into the response. The response might look like this, which is something completely bizarre, right? I don't know what that is, right? So maybe, just maybe, I should probably copy this response and tell AI to rewrite the code for me, right? So let me just do that. So I'm gonna physically copy this. The button is right here. I'm gonna copy and I'm gonna say no in this time. Previously, every time it asks me to do something, if it's okay to do something, I typically say yes. That's option one. But in this case, I'm actually gonna say no, I want you to read this thing first before you go do your thing, right? So now I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna say option three. Um, yes, I believe you do need to change the code to adapt to the output of the client. Here's what I saw from Claude documentation. Paste it there. And then I want you to reference from Bob and intelligently update my code in my Streamlit app so that it can have a normal conversation and also adapt to the whatever object error that we saw earlier. Where is it? Uh, Also adapt to the error uh, in case a tool is used. Okay, so hopefully this is a good amount of information, right? Even if a human engineer is doing this, they still gonna have to do the same way, right? You're gonna read the API docs, right? And you're gonna have to figure out how to adapt different object schema, right? So great. It says it's gonna do that. Awesome. That's fine. Um, Here, you either understand it or you don't, right? If you understand it, great, right? Let's move on. If you don't understand what this code is doing, that's no problem at all, right? That's no problem at all. Just ask. So I'm gonna finish this step, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna ask a couple of questions. So let me just go ahead and finish this first. And say yes. And see here it says file change. That makes perfect sense. We're changing this right now, right? And then the code now loops through all of the content, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully it can have normal conversation, also use the web search tools, right? So on the right-hand side, it sounds like the code is being changed. On the left-hand side, here there's a file change. That makes perfect sense. So left and right, they're in sync, right? Now I just have to hit rerun. I'm gonna hit refresh. Let me start again, right? Do you have web search tools? Hopefully, in this case, it says yes, because in this case, it's a normal conversation. Hopefully, there's no error. Great, I have web search tools. Okay, so what's the weather like in OIC today, right? And then hopefully you search today's weather in New York City. When I'm recording this episode right now, I'm in New York City, so it should be fairly easy to check it. October 3rd, that's exactly the date that I am recording this video. New York City is where I am, and high of 68, that makes perfect sense to me. If you don't trust my words, that I'm when I'm recording this video, then we can do a web search, right? We can copy this, right? We can open a new tab and we just do a Google search. And then 68 is somewhere here. It goes up a little bit higher, 82, but I think around 72. And then the weather here says high of 68, and then um, generally considered satisfaction, and then cloudy, right, with low of 55. I think this more or less is the same as this one. I don't know where the data is coming from. It may or may not come from Google, right? Let me check the weather channel because maybe it has a certain partnership. Maybe Google is not allowed, right? Uh, it's not clear what partnership Anthropic has, right? So weather channel says 66, 72, night 59. Overall feels like 66. Okay, so that makes perfect sense, right? Like it's not too far off, right? Another thing to check is stock price, because stock price is very easy to see if it's right or wrong, right? What's today's Tesla stock price at the closing? Okay, so we're talking about today's price, we're talking about closing price, we're talking about Tesla stock, right? So you either get it right or wrong, right? It's very easy to get this wrong, right? You either right or wrong. So It says blah, 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 blah. It says 4:36 on October 2nd. I don't think it has, oh, here it is. So today, October 3rd, it closed at 4:59. Okay, let's check it out. Tesla stock. Uh, okay, so I think that's a mistake there. I think it closed at 4:30, right? That's today, 4:29, 4:30. Let's take a look at the app. That's definitely incorrect, right? Oh wait, no, hold on one sec. According to one source, though there appear to be conflicting from whatever this website is, that this is 4:29. Okay, so it gave us two answers. One of them is correct, right? 4:29 is indeed here, and that is the correct answer. Okay, let's stop the video here. You guys get the idea, right? You guys get the idea. It's conducting a tooling, right? It calls a tool. The tool, in this case, is a web search. The web search, perhaps, have multiple sources or whatever, right? And then it reports back to you some blob of information, right? This blob of information, it either contains the correct answer or not, right? If it contains the correct answer, which one is the correct answer? That's what your scoring function should be doing. There's a lot of information here, right? If you think about this process a little bit more carefully, there's a lot of information here. How do you structure your scoring function so that me as an end user can have some sort of confidence which one of these number do I trust? That's why Project One is important. That's why Project One is highly applicable. And this exercise shows you guys that motivation, why Project One is important, right? We talked about scoring function. We talked about, let me just go back to here. Go to the GitHub repo. Let's go to docs and let's go to Capstone Project One. There you go, right? You're talking to your chatbot, chatbot give you something back. You either know where it's from or not, but chances are it's probably gonna give you like a blob of information, right? Great. Now what do you do? What is the next step? If user has to chew up that information and think about it a little bit more, that's additional work for the user. And user may or may not have the knowledge to figure that out. Project One, the credibility score, help the user to do that, right? In this case, we have a chatbot. It says something back to us. We have to go to another website to verify that number is correct or not, right? That should be what your scoring function is doing for the end user. End user, ideally, should not have to do this additional step of a verification, right? If your chatbot now solves that problem for the end user, that is a huge value add. Great. Let's stop the video here and let's come back and I'll see you guys in the next video.